Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like your hair was quietly adding years to your face, without you even realizing it? Not because you're doing something wrong on purpose, but because no one ever told you what truly works after 50. The truth is, your hair doesn't age you. Certain habits do. And today, we're going to gently uncover them together. Because the right hairstyle doesn't just frame your face, it restores confidence, softness, and that quiet elegance that never goes out of style. If you've noticed your hair becoming thinner, flatter, or harder to manage, if you've wondered whether gray hair is making you look tired, or if your usual style just doesn't feel like you anymore, then stay with me. Because what you're about to learn isn't about trends. It's about timeless beauty, the kind that feels natural, effortless, and deeply you. Let's begin with something many women don't even realize they're doing. You know, one of the most common things I see is women holding on to the same hairstyle they've had for years, sometimes even decades. And I understand why. It feels familiar, safe, comforting. But here's the quiet truth. As your face changes over time, your hair needs to evolve with it. A hairstyle that once highlighted your features beautifully can slowly begin to do the opposite, especially when it comes to flat, lifeless hair. This is one of the biggest hidden aging factors. When hair sits too close to the scalp, it removes dimension from your face. It makes everything appear heavier, more tired, less defined. And this happens even more when hair naturally becomes finer with age. But here's the beautiful part. You don't need a drastic change to fix this. Sometimes, the smallest adjustment can bring your entire look back to life. Think soft layers that create movement, a gentle lift at the crown, or even a subtle change in parting. These tiny shifts create something powerful. They bring light back to your face. Now, another quiet mistake many women make is being afraid of volume. Not dramatic, overdone volume, but natural fullness. Because somewhere along the way, we were told that volume looks too much. But in reality, volume, when done softly, is one of the most youthful things you can have. It adds energy. It lifts your overall appearance. It makes your hair look healthy, even if it's naturally thin. And this is especially important if you've been noticing your hair becoming finer over time. Instead of fighting it, work with it. Lightweight volumizing products, blow-drying techniques that lift the roots, even choosing the right haircut. These aren't complicated changes, but they create a visible difference. And then there's something even more personal, something many women quietly struggle with: gray hair. Now let me say this clearly. Gray hair is not the problem. In fact, it can be incredibly elegant, refined, even striking. But the issue isn't the color itself. It's how it's worn. When gray hair lacks shine, when it turns dull or yellowish, or when it isn't shaped properly, that's when it begins to age your appearance. But when cared for the right way, gray hair can become your greatest asset. It can brighten your face, enhance your features, and give you a look that feels confident, natural, and beautifully authentic. And this is where most advice gets it wrong, because it focuses on hiding age instead of elevating it. And that shift changes everything. Now, before we move on, there's one more subtle habit that might be quietly working against you. Something so simple, yet so powerful. And once you notice it, you'll never look at your hairstyle the same way again. It's something so small, so easy to overlook. And yet, it has the power to change your entire appearance. Your hair parting. Yes, the way your hair naturally falls. Most women never think about it. They've worn it the same way for years. A center part, a deep side part, or simply whatever feels privichna. But here's what often happens over time. As hair becomes thinner, especially around the crown and front, that same parting begins to expose more of the scalp. And suddenly, without realizing it, your hair starts to look flatter, less full, and more aging. It's not your hair. It's the placement. Now imagine this. Instead of a fixed part that stays in one place every day, you gently shift it. Just slightly. Even half an inch can make a difference. What this does is incredibly simple, yet powerful. It lifts the roots, creates natural volume, and softens the way your hair frames your face. It's like giving your hair a fresh start, without changing your haircut at all. And sometimes, That's all it takes. There's something else that many women quietly experience, but rarely talk about. And that is the feeling that their hair has simply lost its personality. Not just volume, not just shine, but that spark, that softness, that movement, that sense that it belongs to you. And often this happens not because of age itself, but because of one very overlooked habit: wearing hair that is too uniform. Let me explain. When every strand of your hair falls at the same length, when there's no variation, no softness, no gentle shaping, your hair can begin to look heavy, flat, and unintentionally older. Because youthfulness, at any age, is never about perfection. It's about dimension. Soft, invisible layers that you don't even notice at first, but that create movement when you turn your head. A light taper around the face that gently frames your features instead of hiding them. Even a slight feathering at the ends that prevents your hair from looking stiff or weighed down. These are not dramatic changes. In fact, they're almost invisible, but they create a feeling of lightness. And that lightness translates into elegance. Now here's something very important to understand. As we grow older, our facial features naturally soften. Contours change. Skin texture changes. The structure becomes more delicate. So when your hairstyle remains too harsh, too straight, too blunt, it creates a contrast that can feel unbalanced. That's why softer styles work so beautifully after 50. They don't fight your natural changes. They flow with them. And this brings us to something that may surprise you. Your hairstyle should not just match your face. It should match your energy, the way you move, the way you carry yourself, the way you want to feel. Because confidence is not created by copying trends. It's created by alignment. Now let's talk about another subtle detail that can completely transform your overall look. Hair texture. Many women assume that as their hair becomes thinner or finer, they have fewer options. But the opposite is often true, because finer hair responds beautifully to the right techniques. Soft waves, gentle bends, even a slight natural curl can instantly create the illusion of fullness. And more importantly, they add life. But here's the key. The goal is not to style your hair into something it's not. The goal is to enhance what is already there, to work with your natural texture, not against it. Because when hair looks effortless, it feels youthful. And when it feels youthful, it becomes timeless. And finally, let's talk about something that goes beyond technique, beyond products, beyond cuts and styles. Let's talk about how you see yourself, because the way you wear your hair is deeply connected to the way you see your own beauty. If you believe that your best years are behind you, your choices will reflect that. Safer styles, less experimentation, less expression. But when you begin to understand that beauty after 50 is not a decline, it's a refinement, everything changes. You begin to choose styles that feel intentional, that feel elegant, that feel like an extension of who you truly are. And that is when your hair stops aging you and starts elevating you. Now let's talk about something a little deeper, something emotional, because hair is never just hair. It's identity, it's memory, it's confidence. And one of the most common struggles women face after 50 is feeling like they have to choose between looking appropriate or feeling beautiful. But here's the truth. You don't have to choose. The real mistake is believing that elegance means playing it safe. Wearing styles that are too rigid, too structured, or too perfect can actually add years to your look. Because softness is what creates youthfulness. Movement, gentle layers, natural flow. These are the things that bring life back into your hair and into your presence. Even something as simple as softening your fringe or letting a few pieces fall naturally around your face can transform the way you feel when you look in the mirror. And that feeling is everything. Now, there's one final thing we need to talk about. And it's something many women don't realize until much later. Overstyling. Too much heat. Too many products. Too much effort trying to fix the hair. And slowly, the hair begins to lose its natural beauty. It becomes dry, heavy, lifeless. But the truth is, Hair after 50 doesn't need more control. It needs more care. Gentle care. Nourishing masks. Lightweight serums. Simple routines that support your hair instead of overwhelming it. These small changes restore softness, shine, movement, and most importantly, they bring back that feeling of ease. Because beauty at this stage of life isn't about trying harder. It's about choosing wiser. So if there's one thing to remember from today, it's this. You don't need to completely reinvent yourself to feel beautiful again. Sometimes, it's the smallest changes. A softer layer, a gentle lift, a shift in parting, a little more care, that quietly bring everything back to life. Your hair doesn't define your age. It reflects how you care for yourself. And when you begin to treat it with softness, patience, and intention, it responds in the most beautiful way. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path. Because here, we believe that beauty doesn't fade with time. It evolves. And you deserve to feel elegant, confident, and radiant at every stage of your life.